A South Carolina jury has found a store owner not guilty in the 2023 murder of a 14-year-old. Ja'Kai Rick Chow shot Cyrus Carmack Belton in the back after chasing him from his Columbia convenience store. Carmack Belton was black, and the case was treated as a racially motivated shooting by prosecutors.
Prosecutors said Chow acted in anger because he wrongly thought the teen had stolen 4 bottles of water from the store. They argued that Carmack Belton had a pistol, but that it fell to the ground when he was running, and it wasn't used to threaten anyone. A defense lawyer said that Chow fired to defend his son only after the teen pointed a gun at him.
All right, so we're going to bring in our chief legal analyst, Kali Frodes, to talk about this. This happened 3 years ago. Obviously, a lot of pain here with the verdict for both families. What do you make of the verdict, especially given that the suspect was running away and he was shot in the back?
130 yards is how far that man chased him before he shot him in the back. Let's start with a number of things. I would echo your opinion that I remember when this happened 3 years ago. I remember the visuals and the pain and folks who were crying then, just like they were crying in the courtroom yesterday on both sides of the families. And so I'd say that this was excellent lawyering on the defense side, and a couple of hurdles early on that I could see from watching the trial. This is the best part of jury trials on the state level, is that you get an opportunity to watch. You can see the video, not like in federal court where you're just hearing about it, you're writing notes about it, you're listening to what other people say if you're not there, but you can actually watch the trial. And so I watched closing of both prosecutor and state, and most trial prep, trial strategy, trial skills would teach you to tell a story. And both of them, I think, did an excellent job, both prosecutor and defense, of trying to tell a story. And while doing that, you're trying to paint a picture. Prosecutors painting a picture, and this is one of the best closings I've seen, where he has a water bottle there, and he talks about, well, can you put a price on a human being's life? And he said, well, is it the cost of this water bottle? And he draws on the board at $1. And leaves it up there. And that visual is going to stick with the jury. It's going to say, I'm looking at this $1 the whole time while you're talking, and I'm attempting, and he did a great job of attempting to connect that $1 to this kid's life, and it was excellently drawn out and well-crafted storytelling. On the other side, defense was extremely well-crafted, very, very well-spoken in terms of his ability to convey, not just with words, but body language. Sometimes he sat down, sometimes he got up, extremely demonstrative, and even talked about, hey, I see that dollar up there. My team said, hey, you want to take that dollar down? He said, no, I can use it and I can explain. And he told this story about how when he was a kid, this guy on the radio would tell stories, and he'd think you already knew all the details. He'd wait to the end and say, hey, now I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. And he did that yesterday, and he told the rest of the story, as he said, and walked them through hey, if this guy did what the prosecutor said, yes, he deserves to go to jail. Matter of fact, he deserves to go to hell. But I will take it a further step and say, but he was defending his son because they didn't tell you the rest of the story and unpacked it. Again, excellent lawyering. I as a student of the profession, enjoyed watching those folks do their job there.
So many of these outcomes, like Andy said, are controversial. It's painful. Almost no one really wins on either side. But when you look at this case, as you just described, both parties doing really a good job in court, why do you think he was found not guilty? What was the key there that you think? Because from the outside, when you look at it, you're thinking, well, surely he'll be found guilty.
Overcharge, shouldn't have been murder. Probably at the very minimum, or at the very best, should have been manslaughter charge. And I suspect, because I've been in that situation, during the negotiations, there would have been an offer for something, and the family rejected that offer. No, we're going to trial because we have a defense in our pocket. We have self-defense and defense of others. There was testimony of a firearm. His son saw it. And they, in the state, talking about telling the whole story, played a part of the child's interview where he said, I didn't see the gun. But his defense did an excellent job. We said, oh, you know what? I'll play you the rest of his interview. Said, I didn't see it at first, but then I saw the pistol in his hand. Well, that's different. That's the rest of the story. Did an excellent job of paying that. But I think it was overcharged. For you to be able to prove first-degree murder, you need that malice of forethought. And they were not going to be able to prove that even from the very beginning. Second degree, maybe. Manslaughter, proper charge. I think they were just overcharged.
So they would have been successful in the manslaughter charge because, again, as you kind of mentioned, he went over a football field away and shot this guy in the back.
Yes, proper charge. When they show the game's predictability of winning,
right.
It starts at one way, and then as the game is going out, it's going back and forth.
Sure.
If you start at manslaughter, the percentage of them winning, them as in the state, is significantly higher. And what I was confused on, and I would say, is that of the not guilty. that meant that the defense did an excellent job of getting everyone in there, because it has to be unanimous,
Right.
to agree that there was a defense. Not just a hung jury, not just a mistrial, but a not guilty. I mean, I had everyone in the room saying they believed my story.
And real quickly here, the attorneys for the young man's family say they're going to file a civil lawsuit. What does that look like?
I mean, it's going to be malicious prosecution. It's going to be a number of things that would say that you attempted to paint a picture of me being this violent vigilante going out for justice on my own, and I was just trying to defend my family and myself. And so that case is obviously going to go a different path, lesser standard to prove. But listening to the trial, there will be facts that will support that, yes, you guys put me in a situation that I probably shouldn't have been in as having to defend myself. This is a case that they would allege should have never been brought. Is it going to be an easy case to win on the civil side? It isn't. But is that the right thing to do? Typically, if you are found not guilty, you're filing a civil claim for sure.
Okay. 7:49 the time. Again, our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes, wing on that for us. Khalif, thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.